Hey YouTube, JGreen302. I'm going to call this one May 7th Political Analysis. Excuse me. And I hate going down this road. I don't like the politics, but if you're an idiot, you're not going to pay attention to the politics, and you're going to miss all the timing clues, etc., etc., etc. So, if I'm going to step in the shit, I might as well wade in it. So, here we go. There are friends of mine, and we got on the phone and we argue. Literally argue about what's coming, what's going on, when it's going to happen, which direction it's going to take. I got some very opinionated friends, and hence we argue. I made a couple of points in the arguments. It's kind of interesting because I listen to myself argue, and some of it sticks with me pretty good. There's a lot of misinformation, disinformation, and misinterpretation in a lot of the information that's out there. It is very hard to pin anything down. One of the things that I told this guy in the argument that we had was I would rather stick to things that cannot be misinterpreted. For example, the shuttle program is done. It's not a misinterpretation. You can't spin it any other way. The shuttles don't fly. This is an absolute. We can pretty much, consider that a cornerstone of information. So, with that being said, here we go. Executive Order 10990 allows the government to take over all modes of transportation and control of highways and seaports. Executive Order 10995 allows the government to seize and control the communications media. Executive Order 10997 allows the government to take over all electric power, gas, petroleum, fuel, and minerals. Executive Order 10998 allows the government to take over all food resources and farms. Executive Order 11000 allows the government to mobilize civilians into work brigades under government supervision. Executive Order 11001 allows the government to take over all health, education, and welfare functions. Executive Order 11002 designates thereof all persons Postmaster General to operate a national registration. Executive Order 11003 allows the government to take over all airports, aircraft, including commercial aircraft. Executive Order 11004 allows the Housing and Finance Authority to relocate communities, build new housing with public funds, designate areas to be abandoned, and establish new locations for populations. Executive Order 11005 allows the government to take over railroads, inland waterways, and public storage facilities. Executive Order 11049 assigns emergency preparedness functions to federal department and agencies, consolidating 21 operative executive orders issued over a 15-year period. Executive Order 11051 specifies the responsibilities of the Office of Emergency Planning and gives authorization to put all executive orders into effect in times of increased international tension and economic or financial crisis. Executive Order 11310 grants authority to the Department of Justice to enforce the plans set out in executive orders, to institute industrial support, to establish judicial and legislative liaison, to control all aliens, to operate penal and correctional institutions, and to advise and assist the President. To control all aliens. Unqualified. Executive Order 11921 allows the Federal Emergency Preparedness Agency to develop plans to establish control over the mechanisms of production and distribution of energy sources, wages, salaries, credit, and the flow of money in the U.S. Financial institutions in any undefined national emergency. It also provides that when a state of emergency is declared by the President, Congress cannot review the action for 6 months. So these are executive orders. These are not subject to interpretation other than the fact of how you read the law, but those executive orders are fairly good summations of what in the world is going on. I will not sit here and comment on each and every one of those. I will just list them all out. You've heard them. You noticed that it was one right after another. The only thing I will say on that is where there's smoke, there's fire. So I'm looking, and I'd like to point out a few other things. If you're following the NATO summit in Chicago, they have a shoot-to-kill order on any aircraft that violates the no-fly zone. They're instituting airport-style security at all train stations. Now, I will add to this that unless you are completely brain dead, several things are going on in the world. One, the U.S. government is broke. We went from AAA plus to AA credit in the last year or two. We have done all these bailouts. We have gone into debt. We have printed massive amounts of money. Greece collapsing. Spain collapsing. Most of the EU is having financial troubles big time. We're seeing a lot of economic problems. I will then point out that I caught a small blurb where they were talking about a resource that knew somebody in the Department of Homeland Security, and I'll just read the quote to you. What they, DHS, are expecting, and again, this is according to my sources, what they're expecting is the unsustainability of the American dollar. And we know for a fact that we can no longer service our debt. There's going to be a period of hyperinflation. The dollar will be worthless. The economic collapse will be so severe, people won't be ready for this. The other quote is, it's going to get so much worse towards the election, I'm not even sure we're going to have an election in this country. It's going to be that bad. And this, as well, is coming from my sources. But one source in particular said, look, you don't understand how bad it is. This stuff is real. These people, the Department of Homeland Security, they are ready to fight the American people. So, we have people inside the DHS saying that they're willing to fight the American people, that the economic collapse is coming, that the dollar is unsustainable. We have countries all over the planet basically going into economic collapse. We know that the government has spent too much money. We know that the government is in debt. And we know all these executive orders have suddenly gone into place. And now all of a sudden they're having a NATO summit in Chicago, and it's shoot-to-kill orders on violation of airspace. Interesting. I'll leave it there. If you have a brain, you can parse through and surmise whatever you wish off that information. The better you are at it, the better you'll understand it. I will put it out there and let you hear it. But my money right now is that the dollar's in trouble. I can tell you for a fact, being the bargain hunter that I am, and stocking up on certain things, I pay very close attention to food costs. In the last 2 months, it's gone up 20%. In the last 2 months, food has gone up 20%. Your buying power is going away. I have invested pretty heavily in the last month or two, and I'm pretty glad I did. If this continues, what you buy for $1 today will only buy you half in about 3 months. If you noted what the comments said, they don't know if there's even going to be an election. That is a timestamp to November 27th of this year. They're expecting problems. If you prep, it's because you're worried something's going to go wrong. So you have some concerns, you take some actions. The government, with these executive orders, are taking actions. They have concerns. And their concerns are us. So they expect us to be pretty pissed off. And now we have a time frame. So I will just put it out there that, folks, if I was on a blackjack table and I was hearing all this, I know how I would bet. Being very careful not to be an alarmist, but I will tell you that I'm set fairly well. Let's put it that way. If the money thing goes too bad, I will be okay. How about you? You got enough soap? You got enough food? Got enough ammo? Got enough of what you need? Are you ready? I'll leave it at that. Pay attention, folks. Watch the news carefully. Remember, disinformation, misinformation, and misinterpretation is not a good thing. But pay very close attention. Keep your thinking hats on. Appreciate you all watching. Talk at you soon.